I was deeply saddened and outraged by the explosion at the hospital in Gaza yesterday. And based on what I've seen, it appears as though it was done by the other team, not you. But there's a lot of people out there not sure.
That was President Biden this morning meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu earlier in Tel Aviv. This is the first time the U.S. has assigned blame to the deadly airstrike on the hospital in the Gaza Strip yesterday, killing at least 500 people. Just moments after President Biden's remarks, the Israeli Defense Forces confirmed that the misfired rocket from the Islamic Jihad caused the deadly explosion. Meanwhile, the Arab leaders who President Biden was also planning to meet today canceled on him. They canceled their summit in Jordan in protest of the airstrike on that hospital. Iran-backed Hezbollah also calling for a, quote, day of unprecedented anger in response. Joining me right now is Fox News contributor, former CIA station chief who served in Moscow, Iraq, and Pakistan, Daniel Hoffman. Daniel, thanks very much for being here. Your assessment of all of this.
Yeah, I think that this very tragic bombing of that hospital is really a microcosm of what we're going to see in Hamas, where in the event that Israel mounts that ground offensive, as we expect will happen, it's going to be bloody and there will be lots of civilian casualties. And lost in translation is the fact that Israel is the victim of a Hamas, unprecedented Hamas terrorist attack, where innocent Israeli civilians were brutally murdered. But the way that this is going to be portrayed, the twisted narrative that we're going to hear about, is that that Israel is responsible, where in fact Hamas is showing absolutely no regard for human civilians. They're using them as shields, right. As human shields in Gaza, and that's what Hamas wants. The more bloody the conflict, the better. They just want to, as I wrote in a Fox News column this week, just midwife another generation of enmity between Jews and Arabs.
Daniel, President Biden in Israel on the same day that the United Nations sanctions from the 2015 Iran nuclear deal on Iran's ability to acquire and send ballistic missiles to enemies of the U.S., that is expiring today. It is making it easier now for Tehran to send missiles to the terrorist groups that it backs. Concerns are growing over Iran's potential involvement in the Israel-Hamas war. What are your thoughts on Israel and the impact of Iran, given the fact that Iran has already made warnings to Israel that if they go into the Gaza Strip, the country will face, quote unquote, an earthquake?
Yeah, look, we always had significant concerns about Iran. One was the fact that now they're a nuclear threshold state. So that was the first thing that we were concerned about with the failed JCPOA deal. Second was the ballistic missile program, which is growing. And as you noted, those UN sanctions are set to expire today. And third is Iran's state sponsorship of terrorism, which is what we're seeing in the Gaza Strip, where without Iran, Hamas never would have been able to mount that terrorist attack on Israel, as well as Iran's support for Lebanese Hezbollah, which has their finger on the trigger and 100,000-plus missiles aimed at Israel. And the real concern on the part of the United States that a second front will open between Israel and Hezbollah, and that would be another significant challenge for Israel's national security, which is why we've sent the USS Gerald R. Ford aircraft carrier to the Gulf and plan on sending the Dwight D. Eisenhower aircraft carrier in the coming days. But we haven't solved, the Iran problem in the Middle East. And the Gulf states have tried to strike a deal with Iran. Saudi Arabia and Iran, through that Chinese brokered deal, have tried to soften their relationship, but really the threat remains, and that's a challenge for us.
Let me get your take, Daniel. When you look at what we have here, as Israel gears up to go into Gaza Strip and, quote unquote, destroy Hamas, do you think they have the capability to do that, knowing that there could be another problem on the north with Hezbollah coming in? Can Israel be successful here?
They can, but it's going to come at a cost. And while innocent civilians, Palestinian civilians, are above ground, it's those Hamas terrorists, the roughly 30 to 50,000 Hamas terrorists who are enjoying some kind of strategic depth, literally, in the tunnels. And it allows them to hide there and make it very difficult for Israel to clear the territory of those terrorists. So there will be civilian casualties, and as we've seen from those protests against U.S. embassies in Beirut and Baghdad and against the Israeli embassy in Turkey, there will be a lot of public animus against Israel and, by extension, the United States. And whether Israel is successful or not, we're going to face that. And then we're going to face what comes next, post-Hamas. What happens to Gaza?
And we know this is going to be a long war. Joe Concha, jump in.
Daniel, I want to get back to the media coverage for a moment, because we saw from everywhere, from the New York Times to the Associated Press, Washington Post, CNN, Politico, they basically blamed Israel for that missile that hit that hospital that killed hundreds of people in definitive fashion without verification whatsoever. The question is, why all in lockstep against Israel in taking the word of terrorists over the state of Israel? Now we're seeing video evidence that says otherwise, and kudos to President Biden for saying that he's seen evidence that says otherwise. But the point is that at this point, we have embassies now that are, you see people from Beirut to Baghdad, as far as protests are concerned, they believe the Hamas narrative over Israel having actual evidence saying otherwise as far as that missile strike. So why do the American media basically...
What's wrong with the media?
What's wrong with the media? Thank you, Maria.
Well, look, the truth matters, and a number of Middle Eastern countries, Jordan and Egypt and Saudi Arabia, all jumped to the conclusion that it was Israel that was responsible and not Hamas. We haven't seen a whole lot of protests against Hamas terrorism, even in our own country. Look at the protest in Times Square. The Hamas has done more damage to Palestinians than Israel will ever do. And that's just the tragic fact. But this is a problem that those Middle East states really don't want to have to deal with. The Egyptians don't want to accept Palestinian refugees. They don't want to solve the problem. They'd like to put it on Israel and blame Israel for it. And they're dealing with pro-Palestinian population that has predisposed bias, predisposed views of Israel. And that's the challenge that we face, and I think it's up to the Biden administration, honestly, to own the narrative. That's what we should be doing.
And good that he did that just there.
We're not doing it as effectively as we should.
Daniel, thank you. Daniel Hoffman. I don't know if you got your answer, Joe, but you're right. But you're right.
We did.
You're right. What is wrong with the media? It's a head scratcher.